It's appropriate for a fan to kind of go back and forth with you guys like that?
A regular pedestrian like him, no. He shouldn't have never came back in the game. But it's LA.
Thanks, Dillon.
I'm not finna be the bigger man. I'm not gonna let you keep taking your shots at me and I turn the other cheek. That's in the Bible. I ain't in there. I'm gonna put some on you. Yeah! They squabbling out there now. Yeah!
Talk about it.
You are now tuned in to Above the Rim.
Hoops talk for the streets. Family, what's good? Welcome back to another edition of Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the streets. You already know how we do, family. As always, it's your host, Justin, a.k.a. Just Blaze. Family, you know the drill. To get in contact with me, you can always hit me up and follow me on Twitter at JustBlaze_513. On IG at JustBlaze513. On Facebook and YouTube, search Above the Rim Podcast. Also email the show as well. Above the Rim NBA Podcast at gmail.com. Tap in and leave the family a voicemail. The line is always open, 908-718-1592. Make sure you calling in, leaving your voicemails, all of that good stuff. Best way to support the show is by copying your merch as always. Link is in my bio. Anything and everything is on the website. Everything is appreciated, of course. Leave a review for your boy on iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff as well. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the page as well, family. I need some more of those. Make sure you do that. Throw a comment, a flame, anything like that in the comments. I don't care what it is, as long as you're showing some love, of course. And let's get to it, man. Solo episode this week, family. A lot of things that I want to discuss right here. So let's get into it, man. Plenty of special guests that I have coming through in the next couple of episodes. A few more episodes down the line. I got a couple guys coming in, a couple more special guests, so it's gonna be solid. Make sure you're looking out for that. But let's get to some news around the NBA, fam. Let's get right into it. I gotta start off with the Lakers right now because they got all types of things going on right now. You see, over the weekend they had we may have had the funniest sports moment maybe in the last 5 to 10 years that we had going over there in the Crypto.com Arena in LA. Shannon Sharpe gets into it. Uncle Shay gets into it with the Memphis Grizzlies, defending his boy LeBron James's honor, right? In the game. Shannon Sharpe was ready to put them paws on the Memphis Grizzlies in that game, right? I know the whole world is seeing the clip, seeing what happened that evening. Basically, it was Dillon Brooks was basically having drawn some words with Shannon Sharpe. He was sitting courtside the whole game. He was basically talking a lot to the Memphis Grizzlies, defending LeBron, defending the Lakers, of course. We know Uncle Shay is a great LeBron James supporter. So, just regular join, courtside fan team join back and forth. But I think it got a little crazy towards the end of the second quarter when Dillon Brooks was playing some tough defense on LeBron. He was actually playing really well the whole game in terms of defense, but Brown was still giving him that buckets. He's still giving him work. But Shannon Sharpe basically says something to Dillon Brooks, and he says something back to him. And then Steven Adams came rumbling in. T. Morant, Josh's dad, came running in. It became a whole scuffle. And Shannon Sharpe was ready for the smoke, right? He was ready for the smoke. He wanted all of the smoke. And the Grizzlies, they low-key fake wanted that smoke. I'm not going to lie. Maybe Steven Adams. I will give him that. Steven Adams was probably the only dude there that also wanted the smoke. But I think he was more trying to basically break up the fight pretty much. Well, not even a fight, a skirmish or some words or whatever the case may be. I don't know why T. Morant was there, but that escalated it further. And he didn't want any smoke. But I don't even understand why he was there in that scuffle anyway. So, he got to lay back, let John the Grizzlies fight their own battles. But I enjoyed watching it, man. I'm not going to lie. It was hilarious. It was a great night on Twitter. I believe it was a Friday night. It was a Friday night game. And then the Lakers won, man. So it made it really worthwhile, I guess, the skirmish. But I enjoyed watching. Like I said, Uncle Shay apologized after for his actions or how he handled himself on the court. He really didn't have to apologize, but I understood why, and I respected it. And Dillon Brooks, he had me dying too. He calling Uncle Shay a regular pedestrian on the floor. That was hilarious. Very disrespectful, I must say.
So disrespectful.
Very disrespectful, I must say. But that's Dillon Brooks, man. So I gotta ask, man, is Dillon Brooks, is he now the NBA's #1 villain? I don't know. He creeping up there. He may be, but who knows? Dillon Brooks, he may be the NBA's #1 villain right now. We got Rivals Week right now, so They're playing the Warriors tonight, so we're going to see if they get into some more skirmishes. I'll use that term lightly in this game tonight. But moving on now, we got to talk about the Lakers. Like I said before, the Lakers made a trade this week. They traded for my boy Rui Hachimura, right? They picked him up from the Washington Wizards for Kendrick Nunn, 3 second-round picks. If I had to give this trade a grade, I would say I'll give it a B+, right? B+, B-, pardon me. B+, boo, I was stretching it for a little bit. B+, all right, like B-, honestly. And what does he bring to the Lakers this season? He's going to provide some decent production. I actually really like the trade for the Lakers. He's a former number 9 overall pick. He can create his own shot, especially in the mid-range, especially in the mid-post. He can hit a corner 3 every once in a while. He's a career, I believe, 35% three-point shooter. So he can hit open jump shots, but it's not his specialty. He can play the 3. He can play the 4. His 2 best positions. Lakers pretty much they're gonna need his help because it's not like they need help in the scoring department per se, but let's say LeBron James takes a night off, AD takes a night off, which they're going to need going down the stretch, going down the last 30 to 35 games in the season. Rui, he's an adequate 3-4 that can start, that can give some excellent production, that can produce more than you expected on a night-to-night basis. Maybe not every single night, but he could definitely get you a solid 10 to 15 every single night, depending on the role that they put him in. So I think it was a good trade for the Lakers. I mean, they got rid of Kendrick Nunn. 3 second-round picks was a little bit much, but sometimes you got to pay the price to get some production. So I think it's going to bode well for the Lakers moving forward, because who else were they throwing out there at the 3 and the 4 next to LeBron James? It was Toscano Anderson, Troy Brown Jr., Lonnie Walker, who's too small to be playing the 3. Come on. So Rui gives them another guy, wing player with size. He's not the greatest defender in the world, but he's a solid defender, I guess, an adequate defender. But he can hit some shots, and that's what the Lakers need. They need guys to hit shots, and they need guys to really play well. Lakers this year, they are bottom 5. They're a bottom 5 team in 3-point percentages here. So Rui doesn't really help out in the 3-point percentage department as much. They still need some knockdown shooters. They still need some guys next to AD, next to LeBron, next to Westbrook that can really knock down quality shots on a consistent basis. So they still have to address that problem, and they still got some time until the deadline. But I like the trade for the Lakers. I'm not gonna lie. I like it a lot. It gives them some little bit more size, like I said before. And we'll see how he steps up moving forward. I believe he's gonna try to play tonight or sometime this week. I believe tonight gonna try to play. So we'll see how Rui looks. Next episode, I give you an update on how what I've seen from him and see if he's been progressing. Like I said, AD is back now. AD is returned. Can the Lakers make a playoff run right now when AD is returned? I actually think they can, family, and I think they will. Mark my words, man. But listen, no excuse for them not to make the playoffs, right? I'm serious. Remember a couple of episodes back when I was talking to Teddy D and I said, it's time to feed AD, right? And I said I needed LeBron, or I think that LeBron needed to take a step back in order for AD to take a step forward. Now, with LeBron scoring at the pace that he is, playing at how he's playing right now, exceptional, is it possible for him to even do that now with AD coming back? Because you know he's going to be on a minutes restriction, AD, and he's going to try to ease himself back into the season, ease himself back into the rotation. But we'll see how this dynamic plays itself out going forward, because for the Lakers to be who they want to be, which is a championship caliber team, championship contending team, Anthony Davis needs to be the number 1 player on that team, not LeBron James. So I know LeBron is scoring like crazy right now, but he is 38 years old. He is in year 20. Let's be real. He shouldn't be scoring that much right now, or he shouldn't be putting that load on himself to score at that particular pace. And he shouldn't be playing as many minutes as he does to score those points. So like I said, AD needs to be the number 1 option on that team. And let's see when he comes back now, if he can slide right back in to how he was playing before he got hurt, which was a top 10 type of player in the league. So we'll see. Speaking of LeBron, year 20 LeBron, he's been exceptional this season. I can't lie. I'm gonna give LeBron some shout outs right now, right? Year 20 LeBron, I got to give him his flowers, man. The man is hooping right now. I can't lie. Averaging 38-6 at 38 years old is some incredible, incredible shit, right? Closing on Kareem's all-time scoring record. LeBron hasn't averaged less than 25 points per game in a season since he was 19 years old. That's big time when he hits the record, right? That's big time for when he hits that scoring record. He's never, clearly we know he's never had a bad season. He's never even had a season under 25 unless he was in his rookie year. Come on now. The talent around him, it's not optimal for his strengths right now. He has to do a lot right now. He's scoring the ball a lot. He's taking on more of an offensive load with AD being out, with Russell Westbrook still adjusting to coming off the bench, with Patrick Beverley providing nothing, with with Dennis Schroeder solidifying himself in a rotation. Yes, he's been exceptional this season. I'm not gonna lie, right? Now, granted, yes, he also I think he needs to adapt, and I think he needs to adjust his game a little bit more, scoring a little bit less, in my opinion, in order for the Lakers to take a step forward. And he has to adjust his game around particular teammates, but he shouldn't have to subside his talents at all in any way, because this scoring pace, even though it may look sustainable, is very taxing on the body. And by the time, if they do end up making a playoff run, and by the time they do get to the playoffs, by the end of the season, those bodies break down. We know LeBron now has looked mortal in the last couple of years, that he can get hurt, he can get injured. So if LeBron gets hurt on this team, it's a wrap for them. So they're going to have to preserve how they spread out his minutes going toward the end of the season. And I know he's chasing a record. He's obviously going to get, I believe he has about 8 or 9 more games left till he gets that record. So that's going to be solid. So I just want to give him a shout out. He's been balling this year, and I got to give him some credit, man. LeBron James, year 20, showstopper. He's a spectacle, man. Also, when the Lakers played the Blazers the other night, that was a hilarious moment with Dame and Pat Bev too getting into it. Dame calling Pat Bev flip from above the rim. Shout out to you, brother. I had to laugh at that as well. And speaking of the Blazers, man, really quick, I also don't like that Chauncey Billups and Dame have been taking a lot of unnecessary heat for the lack of wins from the Blazers, or the downward slide of the Blazers this season. I think you gotta have a little bit more patience with this Blazer lineup, right? They're a very young team. They're still learning how to win. Dame alone is not going to get you 50 plus wins. They've been ravaged by injuries the entire year. I think Chauncey is doing the best job that he can given the circumstances, right? A lot of people are calling for Dame to leave, and they need to ask themselves, leave and go where? Where's he going to go? Where's he going to go to? What type of team could take Dame on or trade for Damian Lillard and doesn't have to gut their team to get him? That's going to be a problem also as well. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big proponent of, players team hopping or superstars team hopping. So a lot of people have been saying Dame needs to go. I know Reem comes on the show a lot and says that Dame needs to go and find greener pastures elsewhere and go to another contender. But I still feel like the organization still has some moves to make in order to help Dame. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see if they can take another step in the right direction, because nobody was thinking championship this year anyway. So hopefully they make it to the playoffs. They should be able to make it to the playoffs. We'll see how they finish out their season in the next 30 plus games if nobody gets hurt. Another team that I wanted to talk about right now is the Milwaukee Bucks, right? I was thinking about them, watching their games, watching Giannis competing every night, taking games off here and there, but still competing at a MVP type level, as we know. I'm starting to get slightly worried about the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Giannis has had to shoulder a lot of the load for the Milwaukee Bucks this season, right? They're still an elite team, don't get it twisted. Giannis is top 3, if not the best player in the world. The Bucks are holding on to a top 3 seed in the East. Bobby Portis just got hurt. Mike's missed some significant time. Middleton has been in and out of the lineup. Drew Holiday has been trying to hold it down, but he's more of a fit-in type of player, not necessarily a game changer. He's a lead at his particular job, but he isn't a guy who can shoulder the offensive load, right? Middleton, he's been the key for the Bucks, and he's been the key for the Bucks for a couple of years now, right? How healthy is he? Now, we know the Milwaukee Bucks cannot win without a healthy Chris Middleton. We saw that last year. We saw that the year prior, right? Milwaukee was 5th and three-point percentage the past 2 seasons. But this year, the Bucks are 18th in three-point percentage. Middleton is shooting 39% from three, 40% from three, career shooter. We know that's his thing. We know he's the guy who gets buckets on the perimeter for the Milwaukee Bucks. We know he's the guy who can take over in certain stretches and give Giannis a break in terms of carrying the offense, right? So all this got me thinking, will Giannis run out of gas, especially by playoff time, right? 30, 11, and 5 this year, and it doesn't look like it yet, but playoff time may be a different story, right? Let's say they match up with a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers in a 3-6 type of matchup, right? That's going to be tough for a guy like Giannis to handle if his second in command, Chris Middleton, is not 100% in that series, right? And we don't know if Chris Middleton is ever going to be 100% again. They split their season series this year with the Cavaliers, and the Cavs have 2 7-footers that they really can throw out at Giannis. They got Evan Mobley and they got Jared Allen. So those are, if they run into a team like that, and Giannis is there, and Chris Middleton is maybe 50% Middleton, or he's missing a game here and there in the playoffs, it's possible the Bucks can run into some trouble with a tough matchup like that, right? So that's why all of these games in the regular season are very, very important. And it's tough for these guys to miss games, and the Bucks are giving up games that they know they should be winning, but then they also have to deal with these injuries as well. I talked about Bobby Portis. He's one of the top 6 man of the year candidates. Now he's hurt. He had an MCL sprain his knee, and they said he's going to miss significant time. Now, they don't know the exact amount he's going to miss, but we know it's a couple of weeks, most likely, going into a month, something like that. And I think the Bucks may have some issues in the playoffs if they run into the wrong matchup, only because I don't feel like they're 100% healthy, right? So when I'm looking at the Bucks also as well, do they have enough offense to really... They definitely have enough offense to win the title, but do they have enough offense if their team is not 100%, right? They're 18th in points per game as a team this year, 16th in assists per game as a team, they're 23rd in field goal percentage this year, 27th in free throw percentage this year. That's not going to get it done right now, fellas. Those are key offensive metrics as a team that you really need to be in the upper echelon of the league. Now, they are in the upper echelon of the league without them, but when it gets down time to the playoffs, old habits always come back out. So how you carried yourself throughout the year is how you're going to perform in the playoffs, or it's going to be a mirror image of how you played throughout the totality of the season. So the Bucks are going to have to tighten up with those offensive numbers, but with these injuries, a lack of personnel, Giannis alone may not be enough for the Bucks. So I'm starting to start slightly worried about them, but they're still going to be in the upper echelon of the East. I'm just hoping they don't get into the playoffs and get an unfavorable matchup. And then Giannis is in a tough, sticky situation where they go into a 7-game series in round 1. That could be very taxing on the body if he's the only guy, if he's the main offensive option. So we're going to see how the Bucks do that moving forward. And we're going to see if Middleton is healthy moving forward, because he's the key, man. We know that. Or if they make a deal also as well. Moving on. Let's talk about the Knicks a little bit, right? The Knicks have been playing semi-consistent basketball lately, right? And they look solid as a middle-of-the-pack playoff team right now in the East. Jalen Brunson is on the rise and playing exceptional this season, right? He's been low-key elite for the Knicks in his first year with them. Career high 44 points against the Bucks not too long ago. Exceptional footwork for a guard, pivots, stops, jab steps, turnaround, mid-range, long range. He's a sneaky, solid defender, averaging 22 and 6 on the season, top 5 in total points in the clutch this year. The Knicks are holding on to their playoff spot for dear life, family, but the New York Knicks have found their franchise point guard in Jalen Brunson. I will admit that, right? But how will they keep the pieces next to Brunson and next to RJ moving forward? That's the key, right? Is Brunson an all-star? Absolutely, he is, in my opinion, right? He had a streak of 9+ games where he scored 20+ points this season. He's the first Knick guard to have a 9+ game streak of 20+ points since Allen Houston had a 10-game streak in 98. Knicks are top 3 in the league in the least amount of turnovers, top 3 in the league in rebounds per game. So they secure possessions, especially in the half court, right? Playing the young guys, Grimes, Quickly, Obi, has paid dividends for Tibbs and his energetic, defensive-minded approach for the New York Knicks. So they've been playing really excellent. I love how they're playing energetically. And listen, they have an issue closing games, of course. We saw them play a couple of nail-biters in the Toronto game where they lost. Then they ended up beating them after that as well. They did secure a nice win coming down the stretch against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That was a great win for them right there. So the Knicks, that's why I said semi-consistent when we talking about them. They have nights where they're playing elite basketball, where they're playing energetic defense, scoring the ball well, moving the ball, playing well as a unit. And then they have some nights where they just lose focus. They forget what got them to that point. And then they start, they start playing with their bad habits again. Julius Randle starts playing with his head down, not looking for his teammates. Jalen Brunson starts turning into a little bit too much of a scoring guard. Then he stops looking for his teammates and, spreading that ball around. RJ, sometimes he could disappear from time to time. But we'll see. The Knicks, they have their growing pains as any other team. And we'll see if they can get past those growing pains, right? So as far as all-stars go, I hope the Knicks get one all-star. They're definitely not getting two all-stars. So all of you people thinking that Julius Randle is going to be in that all-star, pump the brakes. I'm not going to lie, pump the brakes. He's been solid, but he's not an all-star yet. But is he playing his way back into Knicks fans' good graces? I think so. Low-key, I think so. Listen, we all know he's talented, but can he lead is the question. Can he lead his team into the playoffs, throughout the playoffs? He has a tendency to play a little too emotional at times when you look at Julius Randle. So he has to work on honing in that passion, that energy, that emotion, because some of that bleeds into his on-court antics or on-court mannerisms, and sometimes it doesn't bode well for the rest of the teammates if you're a leader of the team, which he is or supposed to be. So he just got to tighten up that a little bit. But that's a problem that we know about Julius Randle from last year, from the year prior. So that's nothing new. But the Knicks, what is the Knicks team? What is the Knicks ceiling with this team, though? Is it a first round and out? Maybe. I mean, I can't see them beating any of those top four teams in the East. So this may be a happy to be here type of season, which is still a step in the right direction for the Knicks, but they may just be happy to be here. But going to the playoffs is still a step in the right direction, so I got to give them love, got to give them some credit for that. So shout out to Knicks for playing some good ball recently, and so I want to give them a shout out, and hopefully they do get an all-star. I believe Jalen Brunson is an all-star. In my book, he's an all-star. I don't think they're going to get two. I believe they're going to get one, hopefully Jalen Brunson, so we'll see how that rocks out. Staying in the Atlantic division a little bit, I want to touch on the Nets. I want to touch on the 76ers for a second also as well, family. Brooklyn Nets, let's talk about them first. Started out KD's injury, 4 straight losses. Excuse me. Then they had a couple of big wins thanks to Kyrie. He's averaging 31, shooting nearly 40% from the field. From 3 since KD went down. Golden State and Utah, there were 2 very big road wins that they had. The Nets are up in Philly tonight, and that's what I want to talk about, right? I've been watching Ben Simmons like a hawk since KD went down. I have no idea what I'm getting from this man on a night-to-night basis, right? Now, right when KD went down, I asked myself, will Ben Simmons step up in KD's absence, right?
No, sir. Not me.
No, sir. No, sir. His numbers since KD been out, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, which can be interpreted in many different ways, right? Depending on how low the bar is that you set for Ben Simmons, right? But what I'm focusing on is not only the 6 measly points he's given, but he's only taking 6 shots for those 6 measly points. How do you expect to contribute to winning if you're not a scoring threat on the floor, right? Ben Simmons, he's going to be the reason the Nets end up losing a playoff series this year, right? Unless Jacques Vaughn goes back to something that I said in a couple of previous episodes about with Ben Simmons, is bench Ben Simmons, right? Let him completely run with that second unit. It's not a diss. And in spurts with KD and Kyrie, my expectations for Ben Simmons has changed, right? No longer can Ben Simmons be looked at as the next LeBron skill-wise type of thing. Ben Simmons' new ceiling now is Lakers Lamar Odom. Lamar played 7 seasons for the Lakers, averaged 13-9-3, primarily off the bench. Can Ben Simmons come off the bench, play high minutes, and give the Nets that? He should be able to. A crazy stat that I saw the other day is Ben Simmons has more fouls than field goals this season. That is unacceptable. That's ridiculous, right? Until KD comes back, Ben Simmons needs to attempt to assert himself more on both ends for the Nets, right? As an offensive threat and as a defensive threat, because he's barely borderline doing both. When he got here, we thought he was a very extremely stout all-NBA caliber defensive player when he was on the 76ers. He has not been that since he's been in Brooklyn at all, right? He's been a timid type of defender. He has great moments when he plays good defense, but he's not rebounding the ball as well as he did before. He's not locking anyone down, and his defensive instincts are just not the same as they once were. So I don't know what it is. Maybe his head is not into it, mentally, but I think he is, man. I think he's fine, to be honest. I just think he doesn't have the confidence that he normally would have or used to have in here, and no one's going to hold his hand anymore. Ben Simmons, you got to get it together now, because now it's 30 games left. You had 40 games to get comfortable, to get into the lineup, to get acclimated. Now is your time to really show what you can do, if you can do anything, if you can do more than this. So, Ben Simmons, I'm really watching you like a Hawkeye. We're going to see how you perform in Philly tonight, because you playing in the game against the 76ers. So we're going to see if you really take this game as serious and if you really assert yourself on the offensive side of the ball. So we're going to see how he performs. And shout out to Kyrie for holding it down too since KD has been out. Nick Claxton, shout out to you as well, having a career year. I believe he's top 3 in blocks, one of the candidates for Defensive Player of the Year. So shout out to Nick Claxton for playing well too and really stepping up when the Nets need him, man. Want to talk about the 76ers as well. Playing some excellent ball lately, getting healthy around the right time. They had a recent 10-2 stretch, still tinkering with some of the lineups. Doc Rivers recently made a started lineup change, putting in DeAnthony Melton over Tyrese Maxey, and it seems to be working well for them right now. I like it. He's obviously more of a defensive help next to James Harden as opposed to Maxey. So shout out for Maxey for accepting a bench role right now and not really complaining or still performing up to his standards, because he's still averaging over 20 technically off the bench. I like that lineup change for the Sixers, and the 76ers have become quiet contenders in my opinion. I had them from the beginning of the year. They were one of my teams to watch for. I said that they won the offseason with their pickups, picking up PJ, picking up Melton. Who else they picked up? Montrez this summer. So I always felt coming into the year that they had an excellent offseason, and they really picked up guys that really was a great supporting cast to James Harden and Joel Embiid. And I think they're starting to come to fruition right now and starting to really settle into their roles as the team has been getting healthy. Embiid, he's been in and out of the lineup this year with various injuries, but he's been, relatively healthy for the most part, but he's still in MVP form, averaging 33 and 10. Harden is having a solid season as well, averaging 21 and 11. Maxey is giving you over 20. They're a top 5 3-point shooting team in the NBA. PJ Tucker's everywhere and on the floor, patrolling and defending everyone. But how much can we really trust Philly? Are they the best team in the East that nobody is talking about right now? Maybe. But there are 3 things that slightly concern me when I look at the 76ers, right? They're a bottom 3 team in rebounding. Embiid is barely scratching 10 rebounds a night when he usually should be at around 12. That's a little bit low for Joel Embiid, so they have to get better in the rebounding department. Tobias Harris, has he fully bought into his 3-4 option role? Has he fully bought in? He's been playing better this season. He's looking a little bit more comfortable at times, but we need to know how he really settles into that role, and that's going to come to fruition playoff time, seeing how he adjusts to getting less touches. And has Doc Rivers relaxed on his coaching favoritism this year, right? Because I talked about it early couple episodes in the show. Doc Rivers has a tendency to favor certain plays when he's doing coaching, and he doesn't necessarily coach everyone on the floor, which can cause slight resentment between the players. Not that that's anything that I know for sure, but it's just human nature to do such a thing when the coach is only really trying to coach up the top 3 or 4 players rather than speaking to everyone and keeping everyone engaged, right? So Doc Rivers has a tendency to delegate responsibilities to his other assistant coaches. So the players seem to be responding well right now. And like he said, Doc Rivers said, it's a we season, not a me season for the Philadelphia 76ers. So we're going to see how they look going forward. And I really like what they're bringing to the table. And quietly, they're number 2 in the East. Quietly. Lowest of keys, family. So we're going to look out for Philly. Let's talk about the Nuggets a little bit also as well, right? I want to touch on them. Are they the best team in the NBA, right? That's been a dilemma, a debate going on Twitter, going on everywhere, because on paper, they look really good. On the standings, they look really good. First in the West right now, second in offensive rating, first in field goal percentage, first in three-point percentage, second in assists, 16 straight home win streak. It was snapped the other day by, I believe it was OKC, 17-3 in their last 20 games as I'm recording this. Joker's a top 3 MVP candidate right now, 25, 11, and 10, putting up Joker-like numbers as we always know. And this is a very important week for them as well. They have some heavyweight matchups. They're playing the Bucks, they're playing the 76ers, and they're playing the Warriors as well. Love their additions this summer. Really paid dividends for them going into the season. Bruce Brown, KCP, even DeAndre Jordan contributed a little bit this season. The Nuggets have 7 players averaging double figures. So it shows that they're a well-balanced team, right? But my question to you is, family, do any teams really fear the Nuggets in the West after saying all of that, right? Think about it. Do they really fear the Denver Nuggets in the West? Or in the East, but in the West in particular, right? There's a couple of things I'm worrying about with the Denver Nuggets, which would make teams not fear them. It's their rim protection, and it's their individual pick and roll defense, right? We all know Joker in the playoffs has a tendency to get exposed in the playoffs defensively at times, especially because he's their best interior paint protector, and he's also their main scorer and also their offense initiator. That's a lot to ask Joker to do in a playoff series for a team, right? Obviously, bringing in Bruce Brown, obviously bringing in KCP does help for sure, especially on the perimeter defensive side. And their performance may be key for a Nuggets run. Murray, a lot of people talked about last year, they didn't have a Jamal Murray. That was the excuse that they were given. They didn't have Jamal Murray. Well, he's back this year. And he's playing relatively solid. I think he's averaging 19 points or something like that. He's been taking every games off, every so here and there. But he's been looking solid offensively. Defensively, he still has some ways to go, and we're going to see if that shows itself in the playoffs, because in the playoffs, you're only playing against elite guards, so you have to play elite defense as well. But he can still score with the best of them. Jump shot is still wet. He can still get to the lane. He's still a nice two-man. He still runs a nice two-man game with Joker. But we'll see how he's going to look playoff-wise, because we know that's taking it up a notch. Is he really ready? Aaron Gordon has been stepping up his production this season. Michael Porter Jr. has also played well this season, even though he's also been in and out of the lineup. And listen, man, all eyes, they're on Joker. They're on Joker this season and this postseason in particular. You can't use the no help injury excuse anymore. Can't use that anymore. The team is healthily right now. Hopefully going into the playoffs, they'll still be this way. And now people aren't looking for the Nuggets to win a bunch of regular season games, not to have the best record in the league, not to have the best record in the West. They're looking for the Nuggets to really produce and really go conference finals minimum, and their goal should be NBA finals. That should be their goal. Honestly, NBA finals, but I'm being nice by saying conference finals. But anything less than an NBA finals berth should be looked at as a bust type of season for the Denver Nuggets. If they still are playing at this pace, Joker's playing this well, got all his help back, and they have the number 1 seed. So we're going to see how they really show up their second half of the season, if they make any deals going into the deadline, because they do have to upgrade their bench a little bit. Bones Highland has been playing pretty well, but he can, do a little bit better. They can have some more guys coming off the bench. But I love the Bruce Brown pickup. I love the KCP pickup, like I said before. Excellent pickup for the Nuggets, and those guys have been paying dividends for the team, and we're going to see how they look moving forward, right? I want to talk about the trade deadline really quick. Moving on to end out the show. Quick thoughts on them. I think the Raptors are the most important team coming up on this NBA trade deadline. Everyone seems to want their players, but they don't seem to want anyone else, right? Even though they need somebody else, right? One of how the Raptors move will dictate the rest of the trade market, in my opinion. One of the Raptors players that could potentially be traded. One of the Raptors players one of the Raptors players that could potentially be traded could be traded to the eventual NBA champion of the year. Let me explain what I mean. Either Siakam, OG, Gary Trent, Fred VanVleet, one of those 4 guys will be dealt, I believe, by the trade deadline, right? So if I had to guess, maybe it'll be Gary Trent Jr., maybe Fred VanVleet, but one of those players will be traded to a contender. And that's why I'm saying that, because one of those guys may be the missing piece to a contender. Let's say it's a team like the Suns. Let's say it's a team like the Bucks, a team like, what's on the trend? Maybe the Nets are looking for one of those guys. Who knows? There's the teams on the cusp of winning a ring or in contention are the guys looking at these Raptors players. And I think they're going to end up making a deal for one of these guys. And you saw the 4 guys that I named. Those are all solid players, very elite players, actually. You know what I mean? They're elite role players or elite players. Siakam, OG, Gary Trent Jr., and Fred VanVleet are all studs or all could be potential all-stars, on the right situation, on the right team. Like I said, Gary Trent, I think he's going to be the one that maybe moved the most, and he might be the steal of the deadline. He fits nicely, I think, on the Grizzlies if they want to deal for him, the Suns if they want to deal for him, the Heat, or the Bucks. I think he fits in. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's dealt. Him or OG are probably the most likely scenarios, in my opinion, and we'll see who they get dealt to, if they get dealt to a contender, because I think they will. And speaking of the deadline, I think there's about 5 teams that I think really, really need to make a deal by the deadline. It's the Mavs, it's the Suns, it's the Heat, it's the Cavs, and it's the Raptors, man. I think those are 5 teams that need to make a deal by the trade deadline. And I don't think the trade deadline is going to be that wild, as in a plethora of teams making deals. I think there's going to be about maybe 6 teams, 8 teams doing some real deals. Maybe there might be one big trade and maybe a bunch of minor trades with teams retooling, because this is one of the rare seasons where there's a lot of parity in the league and there's a lot of teams really doing well. So you're not really sure who's a buyer, who's a seller, who wants to make a push, who wants to tank. You're not really sure 100% on every team. So that's why I think teams are going to be a little bit more hesitant to make deals, or giving up some of their best players to other good teams as well. That could pass them in the standings. So it's going to be interesting how the teams really jockey for position and how they really view trading this season. And we'll see how the trade deadline shakes out. Closing out the show, I want to talk about the NBA All-Star format change that they just put into place, right? So the NBA is updating its All-Star format this year, right? And taking it to another level, right? Usually NBA All-Star captains usually pick teams way before the All-Star game. It's usually like 2-3 weeks. They usually select their teams and they do the live draft on TV, on TNT. But this year, the All-Star captains are going to be picking the teams right before the game, a half an hour before the game, playground style, just before tip-off, in front of everybody. And that's what I like to see. I got to applaud the NBA for that, right? All-Star game, which is February 19th, I believe, in Salt Lake City this year. So basically, they're going to be choosing teams at 7:30 p.m. and the game is at 8 p.m. And I like that. I like a live draft. And I like this because people like me pay a lot of attention to relationships in the NBA, right? Player relationships in particular. And it matters to people like me because when players are choosing their squad, they play favorites. They're scouting potential new teammates. They're also devising plans on how they can eventually play together on another team. So these NBA players go through a lot of that during All-Star weekend in particular. And I like that. So I like the addition. I like the change. I like to see the live draft in person. And if the dude who gets picked last, how tight is he going to be? That's going to be something interesting to watch. And another thing that I was thinking about with the All-Star game, the NBA needs to go back to East versus West All-Star games, right? You can still use the team captain format and all that good stuff, but let's create some sense of conference loyalty back in the NBA, which could also help brew some rivalries NBA, right? So I like the All-Star games when they were East versus West. You can still have the players picked in different conferences or whatever, but when it comes to the captains, they got to be an East captain, they got to be a West captain, and those players are picking from those players. So I think that would be the best thing going forward because I like the East and West Coast. I like, the East players. Listen, the conferences and the players, they're spread out now. They're there's more parity in the league. So you got stars in the East and you have stars in the West. So I want them to really incorporate that going forward and try to go back to the East and the West All-Star game. So how we feeling about this new All-Star 4 family? Let me know. The All-Star game format, right, of the captains picking their new teams right before the game. Let me know in the comments if you like this format, if you think it would be nice going forward. So let me know what you think. The starters and the captains are going to be revealed this week. Also on Thursday, I believe. They're going to be some first-time All-Stars probably in this year. Brunson, SGA, maybe Markkanen, maybe Anthony Edwards, guys like that. There's going to be some future first-time All-Stars. So I'll do another clip or episode on who I think will be my All-Star picks, maybe leading closer up to the All-Star game, and we'll see how that goes. So let me know in the comments who you think is going to be a first-time All-Star as well, who you think is really stepping up this year, who's All-Star worthy in your mind, because the All-Star to you may not be an All-Star to somebody else. Everybody has a different interpretation of All-Stars, and just because some of these guys pick their All-Star, there's no definitive answer. So I want to know who you got as an All-Star, right? Closing out the show, family. I appreciate you joining me once again for another episode. Thank you for keeping it locked. Thank you for keeping it locked in. Appreciate all the love and support as always. Keep writing in those comments, liking those vids, leaving reviews. I appreciate it all, of course. Send in a voicemail with your thoughts, 908-718-1592, family. Subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is episode 194. We out.